Thank you for joining us and welcome to this Markets.com country profile on the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. I'm your host, Armando Gutierrez Jr. Venezuela has a population of over 26.4 million people, with its currency, the Bolivar, abbreviated VEB. To try and curb the inflation, on January 1st, 2008, Venezuela instituted a newer currency, the Bolivar Fuerte, as in stronger Bolivar, abbreviated the VEF. Each Bolivar Fuerte is equal to 1,000th of the older Bolivar. The older Bolivar will be phased out by 2010. The Bolivar is currently valued at $2,145 to the US dollar. Now let's take a look at Venezuela's economy. As an industrialized country, Venezuela has major industries in energy, mining, construction materials, food processing, and textiles. The current account balance of Venezuela is $26.7 billion, with imports of $45.46 billion and exports of $69.1 billion. Venezuela's major exports include petroleum, metals, chemicals, agricultural products, and assorted basic manufacturers. Imports include raw materials, machinery, equipment, transport equipment, and construction materials. Venezuela's real GDP growth in 2007 was 10.6%, with a GDP of $236.4 billion in nominal terms and $334.6 billion in purchasing power parity. When examined per capita, Venezuela's GDP based on purchasing power parity comes out to just over $12,200 per capita. As for unemployment, Venezuela is currently 8.2% unemployed and facing an inflation rate of 31.4%. Let's take a look at the cash flows. In 2007, foreign direct investment was $46.04 million and outflows amounted to $13.8 million. Now let's take a look at Venezuela's markets. Let's move on to Venezuela's premier exchange, the Caracas Stock Exchange. Caracas has three indexes on the CSE. The General Index, or IBC, is the exchange's main index. The total exchange-wide market value of publicly traded shares for the exchange totals $8.2 billion. Looking at Venezuela's political structure, the country is a federal republic ruled by Chief of State President Hugo Chavez. Chavez serves as both Chief of State and Chief Executive. Venezuela's main political forces are the Fede Armadas, conservative business groups, and Venezuelan Confederation of Workers, abbreviated CTV. Increasingly, there is an emerging consortium of young Venezuelans interested in subverting the current federal political regime. For the judicial system, Venezuela's legal system has an open and adversarial court system overseen by the state. In the tax arena, the top corporate tax rate is 34% for non-oil companies and 60% for oil companies. A maximum royalty of 33% applies to oil extraction. Following cuts in 2007, the value-added tax now stands at 9%, down from 14%. Financial transactions tax was reinstated in 2007. Now let's take a look at Venezuela's top 5 businesses. First, we have Mercantil Servicios Financieros that has a market cap of $1.1 trillion and engages primarily in the financial services industry. Number 2 comes Banco de Venezuela, which is the country's second largest traded company with a market cap of $983 billion, primarily engaged in the financial services as well. The third company is Banco Provincial with a market cap of $687 billion, similarly is also engaged in the banking industry. The fourth largest company, Siderúrgica de Venezuela, abbreviated Sivenza, is next on the list with a market cap of $602.6 billion, which focuses primarily on the steel industry. The last big business is Banesca Banco Universal with a market cap of $483.9 billion and is also engaged in the banking industry. Now let's look at the future of Venezuela. The Chavez regime is unlikely to move towards full state control of the economy. Still further naturalization in federally strategic sectors will continue to curb private investment. GDP growth slowly sharped in the first quarter to 4.8% on the year. Deficiencies in the policy environment alongside destabilization of fiscal revenue will combine to produce continued deceleration of GDP growth. Higher inflation is eroding real incomes while rising interest rates are hitting consumer purchasing power and slowing private consumption. High oil prices boosted the current account surplus in the first quarter of 2008, but did little to offset a significant increase in capital account deficit, forcing the government to draw down $3.8 billion in international reserves. Still, accounts will remain in surplus by virtue of high oil prices for the foreseeable future. That concludes our presentation of the Bolivarian Republic of Venezuela. I'm your host, Armando Gutierrez Jr., and thank you for tuning in to this Markets.com country profile on Venezuela.